Welcome to Odds.com's NCAA football coverage here on Conference Championship Week. We have our experts ready to rock and roll. Thank you to everybody who is joining us live. It is time to break down this giant Saturday card. We start up in the top right corner. Big Ragoo, how you doing on this Saturday morning?
I'm doing great. Top of the morning to you, the chat, and all our football friends out there in college football land. And hopefully, well, not hopefully, we know we're going to cash some tickets today like we did last week. We destroyed them, and we will continue that tradition today.
Last week was the best week of the year for us. How Friday was very tricky and difficult. I had a bad start to my conference championship. Shocked that I didn't cash the over 66.5 in Buffalo Ball State after they score 56 in the
Especially the past few weeks, I figured they want to get to that Fiesta Bowl in a bad way. And I don't know, Slovis, he looked like ass. They couldn't catch balls all over the field. It was just an ugly game for USC. They not taking nothing away from Oregon, because Oregon played a great game. And last year I had Oregon in the championship money line too. But this year I was kind of shying away. But no, that was the only game I was on last night was the USC game, and it was an L for me.
Well, let's go back to our last weekend glory here. John Ryan, welcome. How you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing great. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm a little angry over last night's. Actually, I thought for sure, because USC I was like, okay, everything's going to be fine. I'll break even. I'll get this Buffalo Ball State over 35-21 at the half.
Unreal.
And I beat the market move. It closed at 6.9. I got it at 66.5 with you guys on Monday. And so I was pretty angry. And didn't sleep well through my anger. But I'm excited to be working with you guys right now. DJ Big Boss, happy Saturday morning to you. 7 a.m. on the West Coast. Fighting the good fight, boss.
Hey, this ain't no good fight, man. I got hit with a brick last night. 0-3, man. All the dogs won. All the games went under. It was COVID, man. It was COVID or something. I had to throw on my Suge Knight shirt today because I gotta put my – I got to look at this dead in the eye and face it somehow. But, man, ridiculous night for me. Let's hope that I really got to hope Notre Dame wins on the money line to do anything in the contest. But other than that, though, I did win on the Oregon-USC game. I had that one spot on. Those last-minute games, all of them are going under, when they have, like, less than 2 or 4 days to prepare. All of those games are going under. That one went under. And I didn't bring it up on the show, but, from being on the West Coast in that Oregon-USC game, it's a simple recruiting game. The athletes are now deciding to go places like Oregon instead of USC, so they have the top athletes. And they play each other all the time. So all the best dudes in high school are at Oregon, not at USC like it used to be. So that's why that ended up like lopsided. But I was with Big Ragoo at the beginning thinking that line was way too small for USC coming into it. But as I thought about the recruiting aspects, that was it right there. But good morning, fellas. Let's try to have a good day.
Let's do just that. Thank you to everybody joining us. We got Dylan Turner in the house, Raymond Reichart, David Sharp, Ostino Liggett, Tori Coker, Buzz Nuts. We got Brian Pacone, Mark Nicholson, Black Thor King. We got the Czar. He's on the Gators plus 17.5. That might be a very important hook that you have added. Also, Oklahoma -6. We're going to break down all of those games. This is how we're doing it today. We're just going to go down the rotation orders through the entire card. We did all the conference championships on Monday, but we get fresh eyes from the Big Ragoo. So we are going to go again over each conference championship game. And then we have other games that are very interesting, starting with Washington State, Utah, and we roll down Ole Miss, LSU. We got a bunch of them. And then we're going to close the show with our first bowl game of the year, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, on Monday, December 21st at 2:30 p.m. All 6 of us college football handicappers here at odds.com are going to be in a bowl contest. And the rule is that one pick has to be made on each and every bowl game. So that starts to close out the show. So thank you guys all for joining us. Let's get to work right now. We are going to start with the Big Ten Championship, 14th ranked Northwestern Wildcats, 6-1 in the Big Ten versus number 4 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, 5-0 in the Big Ten. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium, and surprise, surprise. So I got in at Northwestern at plus 20.5 on the Monday show. And CMAC got the plus 21 at minus 119 at Bet America. For the contest purposes, I took the minus 104 at DraftKings. John is on the over 57.5. Noli's on the under 59.5. The market was moving very quickly, so they were both able to take advantage of it. This market has gone all the way down to 56 or even 55.5. So it's been dropping very, very quickly. And I didn't bet Northwestern. After the show, I called CMAC, and because the idea from the chat was that we'd made huge mistakes. And I was like, you know what, CMAC, I'm going to wait. I think I'll get a better line. That was a blunder. That did not happen. Kevin Ponchera says Ohio State lay the chalk and double up. That was the sentiment in the chat, and that has not been the sentiment by the betting public. Wildcats haven't won a title since 2000. They haven't won an outright title since 1995. A win would be the third outright Big Ten championship in school history. They've lost 8 straight times to Ohio State. They bounced back from their 29-20 loss to Michigan State by defeating Illinois at home 28-10. Senior quarterback Peyton Ramsey, just 7 for 12 for 82 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. And something we talked about on the Monday show was whether or not he would be able to hurt Ohio State deep like Penix did in the one game where Ohio State looked somewhat vulnerable. He's completed just 59% of his passes this year, his lowest mark of his 4-year career, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Their defense continues to lead them, allowing just 14.6 points per game, including just 4.1 points allowed in the second half. Their defense ranked, Northwestern defense ranked top 5 against the pass run overall and scoring defense. Only Power 5 team with 3 players with more than 200 career tackles. And they'll have their hands full with Ohio State. Seeking a school record 4th consecutive outright Big Ten title, spot in the college football playoff. They played just once since November 21st. They score 46.6 points per game. They gain 532.4 yards per game. Justin Fields is a monster. Let's start with Big Ragoo and get some fresh eyes on this spot. Big Ragoo, Northwestern, Ohio State, take it away.
All right, so let's start off with giving Northwestern all the credit for the season they're having. Without a doubt, well-deserved 6-1. You know, all the accolades with Fitzgerald and what he's done there. But I think this is when I first looked at the number at 21, I'm saying, you know, that might be a little bit of a stretch as far as not being able to make a decision to go either way with this game. Just because of the style of play that Northwestern plays, it looked very enticing for me to take the 21. So I'm sitting back watching the numbers move here, and I kind of like I kind of glad that I did not jump in either way because I think Ohio State, just because of the way they're built, you know, they have been able to smash the ball. We know what Northwestern's defense is pretty good on the passing side against the run, more so the pass, I think. And I think that bodes well for Ohio State. I think Ohio State will have some success on the ground, you know, putting yardage up. They've averaged like 300 yards per game the last 2 on the ground. Prior to that, 200. And I think Ohio State's going to come out of the gates fast here. And Northwestern, the problem with Northwestern, they're not built. If they get behind early, which I don't think they'll get buried too deeply early in the game, you know, the first half, I think Ohio State's a better team in the first half, you know, by 2 scores. I think they will get to that point. But whether they stretch it out to 3 scores full game, that might be something else, but I think Ohio State's is going to pull away a little bit early in the first half. As far as I think they're 2 scores better in the first half, and maybe if Northwestern keeps it tight in the second half, they'll have a chance. If not, it's going to get real ugly for Northwestern. So I'm on Ohio State first half.
Ohio State first half. What number did you get for that?
I got 10.
That's a nice spot. I think
the worst case scenario would be a push. There were some 10.5s early. It backed down to 10. I'm at minus 10, minus 115.
That's a good score. I don't see any 10s available now. They've all gone to 10.5, so that was a great job. And the 10.5s are even juiced at minus 115. Yeah. Nice job. We have Ragoo on Ohio State minus 10 at minus 115. Let's go down to DJ Big Boss. Big Boss, you didn't make a move officially in the contest, but you said that you wanted to get to the window with Northwestern first half. Did that come to fruition?
No, I didn't get to the window yet. I mean, as I thought about it, we always wishing on the dog to wake up and bite somebody, but we don't know about this defense. It really hasn't been tested 100%, and they're playing a really, really hungry Ohio State team. But, if I had to lay it, I definitely go for Northwestern first half on the simple fact that Ohio State have started games slow before. And, that's not new. They can pick it up in the second half, halftime adjustments, all that good stuff right there. But, not going to get to the window with it today. After getting hit with a brick yesterday, I got to tread these waters lightly and find the right spot. So ain't got time to play around with this early. And if I had to do it, I'd definitely take that points early and hope that I win. But I don't want to throw no money out the window no more.
I absolutely hear what you're saying. It was very tough. Big shout out to David Sharp. He says, today's a great day. My son comes home from the Army for his 2-week leave. Haven't seen him in 8 months. What a wonderful opportunity for your family to be together over the holidays, David Sharp. That is wonderful news. And we just thank your son for all he does for all of us. So, David Sharp, wonderful, wonderful news. All right, before we go to John Ryan, we have a question from Raymond Reichart to Big Ragoo.
Yeah.
Says, would you take it at 10.5?
Yeah, I was going to say I would still take it at 10.5. I wouldn't be as happy, but yeah, I think so. Here's the thing with this look on this game too. So Northwestern, they played whoever they had to play in the Big Ten. They haven't seen a team like Ohio State yet. Okay, and Ohio State took down a pretty good Indiana team. So they're not a prolific enough team to kind of hang around with them. The defense, sooner or later, is going to get wore down. And if it gets wore down early, then you can name your score in the second half. But I don't think they have to get wore down early for Ohio State to cover the number early. I think Ohio State is that much better of a football team. I'm not going to do a comparison to Alabama or nothing like that, but in their league and what they got going on, and plus there's a big date waiting for them today too. Either way, if they win this game, they're going to be 2 or 3 seed, and that looks like a possible matchup for a certain thing we'll talk about later.
Very exciting possible matchup. All right, John Ryan, put a bow on this here. Big Ten Championship. You went over the 57.5. The market has moved against you. How do you feel about that spot? Is this a double down now that it's down to 55.5 at some books? And are you going to make a move on the side?
Yeah, it's potentially a double down here. I'm looking at the first half total and wanted to know what you're seeing for that. Because I think there's probably greater value in the first half playing over than there is adding to the bet.
The first half, sorry to interrupt, but the first half is sitting at 29 across the board. There is a 28.5. There actually is a 29.5, but mostly 29s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you like Northwestern, you have to think that they get out of the gate fast. Maybe they get a defensive turnover. They've been a scrappy team over the years when they've been good like this, and they find ways to stay in games. So for the over bet, it implies a 38-18 final score right now. So that implies Ohio State's going to score more than 25, and Northwestern is going to struggle to get 21. If you think Northwestern's going to score more than 21, then the over, I think, has a very high probability of covering. There was on the first half stat here, Ohio State's 10-1 on the over in the first half total after allowing 100 or fewer rushing yards in their previous game in all games played over the last 2 seasons. So, that's under head coach day. I like to keep my stats under the same coach because that makes sense. So, I stand by my pick at 58.5, I think it is, for the game. And instead of adding on the game now, I'll use the in-game. And I outlined in an article I had written that's publicly published that what you do here is you put 70% on the total. And then during the game, if it drops 3 points, add 15%. If it drops 3 more, 15% more. So that would be 50, 53, and 56 is what I'm seeing right now. I think that's the way you play it. And if it's a barn burner, then you have 70% on 56, which is going to win.
I love it. Great breakdown, everyone. That's the Big Ten Championship that pops off in an hour and 42 minutes at Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's move on to the next spot, the Big 12 Championship. Number 10, Oklahoma Sooners, 7-2, 6-2 in the Big 12 versus number 6, Ohio State Cyclones, 8-2, 8-1 in the Big 12. This is at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. In this spot on the Monday show, C-Mac was bullish on Iowa State. He got them plus 5.5. He also took them at plus 180 on the money line. This market has gone against them. It's not anymore. Wow. Look at that change. Money coming in on Iowa State all morning. Holy. Wow. That's wild. That is wild. So that was up at 6.5. The leading indicator books, I had it at 6. They now have it at 5. And money coming back in on Iowa State fast and furious. So 5.5s on the board. We also have a few 6s, but clearly money coming in on Iowa State. Interesting. Big Boss was on the under 58.5. That is where it stands now. There are a couple 59s on the board, but the indicator books say it's going down, back down. John was going right up against you, Big Boss. He was on the over 58.5. And then I took Iowa State plus 5.5. So that is where we stood. Let's talk about this very quickly. Oklahoma 10-1 in Big 12 title games. They've won 6 straight, with the last 5 coming by double digits. That's just this season, not in the Big 12 title games. They haven't lost since the 37-30 loss at Iowa State on October 3rd. So they may have revenge in mind. Their game last week at West Virginia was canceled due to positive COVID tests in the West Virginia program. They were last seen in a 27-14 win at home over Baylor. Freshman quarterback Spencer Rattler has thrown for 2,512 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He is the Big 12's top passer with 279.1 yards per game. His 24 TDs are the most nationally for a freshman. He's got at least 2 in all but 1 game this year. He threw for 300 yards and 2 TDs in that loss against Iowa State. Oklahoma has 2 very dangerous receivers on the outside in Mims and Weiss. They have Austin Stogner, who's such a dangerous tight end. And I'm going to make sure and see if I can get the last-minute information to see if he will be playing. He missed the Baylor game with a hip injury. They were outscoring their opposition. They are outscoring their opposition by an average of 21.4 points per game. The Sooners have held their last 3 opponents to 36 total points. That's their fewest in 3-game stretch against Big 12 teams since 2009. Only 198 yards rushing. They lead the Big 12 and are 4th nationally, allowing only 88.1 yards rushing. And then we get to the Cyclones and Matt Campbell's 5th season playing in their first ever conference championship. They've won 5 straight, coming off a 42-6 home beatdown of West Virginia. And Brock Purdy is throwing for 17 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. But the question is, can the Sooners stop Breece Hall, who's just been a monster this year, 1,357 yards, 17 touchdowns? And if you look at what the Sooners defense has done lately, that answer might be yes. Let's get a fresh take again from our Big Ragu here, who wasn't on our Monday show. Big Ragu, Big 12 Championship, take it away.
Yeah, nice game. Nice setup here for this game. Oklahoma, we talked about them the past few years getting to the Final Four. Their weakness has always been their defense, obviously, for many reasons. And with Grinch coming in, we figured they started off nicely last year, and then they kind of faded out again. But now they're getting stronger as the year went on, and they're in a nice spot right here, Oklahoma. I know some money's ticked up for them now. It's coming back the other way, but I think a lot of public is on Iowa State here. So, initially, and then probably a little sharper money coming in on Oklahoma, but now it's starting to balance out a little bit. But you're right about the Breece Hall situation. They've been riding him pretty strong. And of late, he hasn't, he's only averaged about 90 yards a game. So they kind of keying on this kid. And Purdy's inconsistency this year. He's a nice quarterback, but he's has some inconsistencies here. So which Iowa State team are we going to get today? We know what we're going to get with Oklahoma. They're going to score. It's going to be a tighter type of game. Probably a one-score game, I would think. I don't think it's going to come down to field goal. I think it's more a touchdown-related game either way. I don't think we're going to have to rely on the kicker here, even though, if Iowa State's going to try to grind out another win like they normally do, if you like the under, I would say Iowa State. If you like over, I would go Oklahoma. But I think Oklahoma's defense is going to be the key to this game. And if they can slow down Hall and put all the pressure back on Purdy, it's not going to be a good situation for Iowa State.
I agree. I think that makes a ton of sense. Are you going to make anything official here for the show?
No, I'm not playing this game today.
Going to stay off this spot. Let's go down to John Ryan here. We have our man Jin liking the over 59, says this is going to be a shootout. That goes in line with what you said, John, on Monday when you got the over 58.5 at even money. Has anything changed for you in your analysis of this spot? And is there a side that you now want to jump on?
Well, I like Iowa State here, and I think you have to like Iowa State if you like the over. They've played a more difficult schedule based on my SOS stuff than Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, as I mentioned, and I think everybody was in agreement with it, has been incredible since their 2 losses to start the season. But if you really look at the games after that, yeah, they have kicked butt. But the Iowa State defense, again, based on my metrics, is vastly better than Oklahoma. And even in a high-scoring game, you got to take the better defense that's going to allow fewer points. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but this could come down to Iowa State getting 3 or 4 stops, meaning that Oklahoma doesn't score on a drive, and Oklahoma having fewer than that. And that puts Iowa State in a position to win this game, which I think they can do. And I loved what Dan Kelly said in the chat room, too. Under their head coach, they're 5-0 against the spread. And Oklahoma's nightmare is Iowa State. And I do think it's going to happen again today. So, if there was going to be an upset alert, I would put it on Oklahoma today. But for the purposes of this show, I think I have 58.5 for the over. And just a correction from the previous game. It was actually 57.5. I think I said 58.5, so I apologize for that. But I think just stick with the game over and just let it unfold.
Very interesting. Big Boss, you were on the other side of that total. You have the under. Break down your analysis as why that is, and are you close to making a move on the side?
Just like Big Ragu and John Ryan mentioned, the defense is a factor here, and Oklahoma's defense has been playing a little bit better at home, and Iowa State defense has been doing here and there okay, but sometimes Purdy come in and fill in the blanks, and sometimes he don't. And Breece Hall, sometimes he has a great game, and sometimes he don't. But we don't know, like Big Ragu said, we don't know which Iowa State team really going to show up today. And I don't know. I might have bit off a little more than I can chew taking the under in the contest with this one, because those Big 12 games somehow end up rising over all year this year. But if we do get what the people want, which is a defensive fight, we expect the battle in this game right here. I think bets are kind of lying according to what we want to see, and I kind of want to see a grudge match between these teams that with these high offenses finally play some defense in this spot right here. So it's kind of contrarian that I'm on the under. I won't be getting to the window for it. I would expect the best for Iowa State. If you take Iowa State, you can just know you have a team that's going to keep trying the whole way. So the backdoor cover could be wide open, but Oklahoma State has improved just a tad bit more this year. They're doing well on offense as usual, and then the defense is stepping up, but the defense only been stepping up at home. So you catch them on the road, ain't no telling what can happen right here.
Jin says he can see why you like the under. Second time seeing each other this year, and you are right about contrarian. I've got 86% of the tickets on the over, 78% of the cash on the over. So Big Boss on the under 58.5 in the contest, but not going to get to the window. All right, so those are the first 2 giant conference championship games that pop off in an hour and 33 minutes. Let's go into a non-championship game, but a big game all the same. This one pops off at 12 p.m. Eastern. We're just going down the rotation numbers. Rotation number 243, 244. Number 5 ranked Texas A&M at Tennessee. Texas A&M opening up at 12.5 at Bet365. That moves to 13.5. There are 14s out there. The Aggies 7-1, 7-1 in the SEC at the Volunteers 3-6, 3-6 in the SEC. Neyland Stadium, Knoxville, Tennessee, 38 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 1 mile per hour. It's a little chilly. Texas A&M gets one more chance to prove it's worthy of the college football playoff. Since losing to Alabama in Week 2, A&M has won 6 straight, coming off a 31-20 win at Auburn 2 weeks ago. Their game last week versus Ole Miss was canceled due to positive COVID cases in the Rebels program. A&M is fortunate enough not to be involved in that. Kellen Mond hasn't thrown for 300 yards since his third game of the season when A&M beat Florida 41-38. In the last 2 games, he hasn't broken 200 yards. He should have every opportunity for a big game against the Volunteers defense that gives up 264.1 yards passing in game, 11th in the SEC. He has 90 career touchdown passes. That's 3 from tying the school record held by Johnny Manziel at 93. Tight end Jalen Wittermeyer leads all SEC tight ends with 40 catches this season. He has at least 2 TDs in 3 of his last 4 games. And then Isaiah Spiller, their running back, second in the SEC, averaging 112.1 yards per game. They're 5th nationally, giving up just a half sack per game. Mond's only been sacked 4 times this season. Well, unbelievable. Texas A&M leads the SEC in time of possession and ranks 9th nationally. Tennessee snapped a 6-game skid with a 42-17 win over Vanderbilt last week. This will be their 4th top 5 opponent this year. Strength of schedule, 5th toughest in the FBS. And Tennessee quarterback Harrison Bailey, the freshman, he started 2 straight games for the Vols. He has completed 71.8% of his passes, 318 yards, 3 TD passes. He completed his first 13 passes in last week's win over Vanderbilt. And Ragu had hope with this Tennessee Volunteers team at the beginning of the year, and they won the first 2 games out of the gate and looked like they were going on to a strong season. And Harrison Bailey might be the answer in Tennessee. Let's start with Ragu here. What do you think of this freshman quarterback? And do you think Tennessee can possibly cover or even do more damage and hurt Texas A&M's chances at the college football playoff?
Yeah, they're kind of playing like a semi-spoiler role here, but A&M's going to be on the outside looking in, obviously. They need a lot of help to kind of get there to make it work for them to move on in the postseason. But, yeah, you're right about Bailey. I like this kid a lot. He was their number 1 recruit quarterback, and I just think they kind of waited a little too late to pull the trigger to get him involved. They should have put him in like after they had this loss in a row. But the season's far gone for Tennessee here. And they have been really bad. You know, they're ranked like 117th on third downs to keep the chains moving. So a little brighter spot here with Bailey coming in, but they're going to be up against it because the Aggies defense is really good in the red zone. They're like in the 30 percentile range for giving up points. So Aggies got a lot of good stuff going on here. It's definitely going to be a tough spot for Tennessee to win the game. Whether Aggies get to that number, that remains to be seen. But you're probably going to get the Aggies A+ game today, as far as trying to impress and to make themselves eligible with some help to kind of get into the they're going to need a lot of help. A lot of stuff's going to have to go wrong, but I don't see it. I'm not crazy about laying a number, but it would have to definitely be a Tennessee a pass for me. I'm not going to get involved with Tennessee. Maybe Aggies win. I think Aggies will get in the 30s, and Tennessee will probably stay in the high teens, maybe low 20s. But I don't think. I think the number is going to be real close. But I might look to an A&M team total here, possibly. That would be my only look here. Maybe if the Aggies are like in the mid 30s, like low to mid 30s, I'll maybe take a swipe on them as a team total play. I have to look at it.
That's what Nutflush is looking at. He's got a 31.5 for the team total. Let's move down to DJ Big Boss. Boss, what do you think about this spot, Aggies Volunteers?
Hey, I can't tell you much of what to do in this one, but let me tell you what we're not going to do with this one. We're not going to lay 2 touchdowns with Texas A&M. No way, no how. We're not going to hang in there with Tennessee when they could just get ran all through and the way they've been playing this year. We're not going to do that either. And we're not going to make a play on the total in this game either. So just pop some popcorn and watch this game because ain't no action in there.
No action for DJ Big Boss. John Ryan, any move for you here at Texas A&M, Tennessee?
Well, I'm off the game. I think the discussion is going to become, with all due respect to DJ Big Boss, my good friend and pal, that Clemson's going to win. And that creates the interesting storyline with Notre Dame, a non-conference champion with one loss, compared to Texas A&M, also one loss, and non-conference champion, and who's going to get that fourth spot. The popularity contest, I think, would go to Notre Dame because of the huge following they have in this nation for decades and decades. But I think Texas A&M has an awful lot to play for. And at the same time, with all that on the line, Tennessee, this might be their day. This might be their day to correct a horribly bad season. And I have a money line system here that's averaged a plus 320 underdog play. It has a losing record of 28-36 over the last 5 seasons. That's 44% winners, which really sounds piss poor. However, if you would have bet $100 on every one of those 54 games or 64 games, you would have made a profit of over $5,300 just blindly doing this. So you're going to play against road favorites using the money line after 6 or more consecutive straight-up wins and has a winning record on the season. And that's all there is to it. Supporting Tennessee on the money line, you play on a home team using the money line off a win of 10 points or more over a conference rival and is now facing its 3rd straight conference foe. Again, simple. So I have to say, I'm almost tempted just to violate my discipline and put a really small money line parlay on Iowa State and Tennessee here, just to see what happens.
Yeah, break the bank open.
The big kahuna.
Yeah, no more than $50 for me, but still, that pays off big at $50. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah.
Granted, the odds are probably 30-1 that it happens.
But you're no question they don't have talent. Tennessee has it. They just can't put it together. Maybe you're right. Maybe they actually do put it together and cash in and maybe they make up some of those lost wages that people have been backing them on if they take that swing with Tennessee today.
Man.
But it's going to have to be a shootout because A&M is going to score on them.
There you have it. Enough Flush Allen saying bottom line, if you think Tennessee has any chance, then you are telling me points will be scored.
Yeah.
Texas needs top points. It says 31.5 low-hanging fruit.
Grab it.
Wow. Wild. So Texas A&M team total being backed by not Flush Allen, Big Ragu, and John Ryan after his huge LSU at plus 900, looking for more of the same here with the Volunteers. Not as big of a dog, but wild stuff. Great capping. Okay, let's move on to 1:30 p.m. This is the next spot on the card. We have Washington State at Utah. We're in Salt Lake City, Utah. Utah opening up as 9.5-point favorites. That's now 10.5. There are a couple of 11s on the board. This total opened up at 57. It's now at 55.5. 35 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 5 miles per hour. Almost an entire season where we haven't had weather issues. We've had other issues, but not weather. Cougars game last week against California was canceled less than 2 hours before kickoff due to the COVID-19 cases within the Golden Bears program. Washington State last played USC in a 38-13 loss at USC on December 6th. Before that, the Cougars' previous game was a November 14th home loss, 43-29 against Oregon. So the turning point here in this game is Max Borghi. So he was on the field. He was going to play against Cal to make his season debut, and then there was the cancellation, and he's very good. He was honorable mention All Pac-12 selection a year ago, 16 total touchdowns. He's a difference maker for Washington State, and I'm trying to get information whether he's going to be in the lineup, and what I have is that he will be in the lineup. So if anybody knows any different, please let me know. I wanted to talk about that on the show. Then we go to Utah after opening with 2 losses at home to USC and at Washington. Utah defeated Oregon State at home 30-24, then won at Colorado 38-21 last week. Utah cornerback Cam Rising went down with a shoulder injury early in the season. Senior Jake Bentley has come in, and he's looked average. He has improved. After throwing 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in his first 2 games, he's thrown 3 touchdowns, 1 interception over his last 2, and he threw for a season-high 240 yards in the win at Colorado. Utah running back Ty Jordan was again named the league's freshman of the week, 147-yard, 2-touchdown performance against Colorado. He is absolutely rolling here. Here we go. Washington State at Utah. We're talking Pac-12, so why don't we get DJ Big Boss's take to get us rolling here. Is Max Borghi in the lineup enough to think that maybe Washington State can cover double digits, boss? Let's just see where the money has gone. Here we have just not that 56% and 60% of the tickets, 56% of the cash on Utah, so not as much as I was thinking. Interestingly, the over has 51% of the tickets, but the under is taking the cash, 73% of the cash on the under. Big Boss, take it away. Pac-12 action.
This might be an easy under right here, but I never really have a real grasp on these 2 teams, and the sample size this year is really low. I mean, they only play like 4 games, so it's not much really to really go from. And then on top of all that, with the COVID, the games was all staggered out and stuff. So this not really a hot spot. Only thing I can say the positive about this game is it's a Pac-12 game in the daytime, and the referees are a lot more honest in the daytime than those late night Pac-12 games. Big Ragu felt last night. But yeah, those refs go crazy over there in the Pac-12. I don't know what it is, but these 2 teams, only thing I could come up with that's solid between them is Utah's defense. And their defense, if they come to play, you know, that's where the under comes in big time. I don't expect much of them in a season like this at this time. I would expect Utah just to get out with the win. I'm not sure about laying the points, but if you really read these lines lately, 10.5 kind of leans towards a blowout-ish because, you know, it's teasing 2 touchdowns and a touchdown and a field goal. So, I mean, if you really like Utah, go ahead, lay it and keep going. But the under looks like a good public play that might come true.
Very interesting spot here, Washington State, Utah. John Ryan, anything for you?
Well, I hope everybody has their pencils out for this one because this is one of the monster money line systems that's probably going to cause DJ and Big Ragu to faint. But these are the ones at this time of the year that I truly, truly love. And it's playing on Washington State, obviously. This system has gone 26 wins, 59 losses for 31% winning bets. Okay, that sounds like just god-awful. However, $100 better has made over $7,500 over this 5-year period, just simply blinding doing the following. Play on road underdogs of 320 or more on the money line after a game where they forced no turnovers and now are playing an opponent following a game in which they committed 1 or 0 turnovers. So we've talked about turnovers being such a predictive tool in the outcome of games, and I think this underscores it. So, again, you're going to win 31% of the time, which sounds, like I said, god-awful. But when you know you're playing a 320 dog or more, and it has 5 years of proven history behind it, it's certainly worth doing. So there's another one there. So I'm not on the game, but I'm feeling a little crazy today because I had a little touch of whiskey, about this much, with my IPAs last night. So I'm feeling like manly, like really manly today. Like I'm going to get an axe out and cut wood.
Oh yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I'll probably tie that in.
No guts, no glory, John.
What's that?
No guts, no glory.
Oh, you got that right.
Get that shirt off,
Hey,
John. Let's get
cutting the wood sounds counterproductive, John.
Yeah, ain't laying no wood there.
We lay the wood. I don't know about cutting the wood.
Well, I think you have to cut it first to lay it, don't you?
Whoa.
That's what we do with fireplaces here in the Northeast.
Oh, yeah.
Big Ragu, let's move to you, my man. Washington State at Utah. Take it away.
That was a mouthful, and man, I'll tell you what. I love it, John. I love it, though. You know, you can't say you're not gonna You're not going to lay the wood or chop the wood. You're doing both on that play, my man. But you're taking the wood. But I love it. I think you're dead on as far as your observations with, because when I first looked at this board, I said that, I don't think it's going to be too chalky today. A lot of these other games, we call them the other games, the makeup games, or the games that mean a lot. Those are the games that kind of sneak under the radar, and you want to get involved in those type of plays because a lot of these guys are packing it in and going to the house. Some of these teams might be bowl eligible, some not, but I kind of, not that I'm going to say, maybe an outright win, but I think Washington State, here's the reason I like Washington State today. A lot of recency bias with Utah after that beating the Buffs, that 38-21 game last week. And I had Utah last week on that game, with the money. But I think Washington State, maybe it bodes well. If, like DJ, did you say you like the under, DJ, in this game?
I like the under with the public for sure, because the only thing I can say solid is Utah got defense.
You would think you would associate a Washington State over, but I think if you like Washington State, you have to like the under. Here's why. Both teams score about 26 points, 27 points a game, which kind of puts the game close to the number. But I think Utah's defense is a little bit better than Washington State's defense. So does that allow them to make up the difference? I don't think they will. I think Utah would play more of a conservative type game here. I don't think they're looking to air it out, so to speak, against a weaker Washington State. I think you're going to get more of a ground control. You're going to get more of a grinded out type game. But and the thing is with Utah, if they do have that margin lead late in the game, let's say they're up by 2 scores, I think this is a perfect opportunity to get a backdoor cover with Washington State, because they do have pretty good offensive numbers. It's just that their defense is a little bit weaker, obviously, than Utah's defense. But I think that plays into a tempo type of game here with Washington State. So I would definitely take the points here with Washington State, especially if you're looking at going into the second half. Maybe look at a live play possibly if they're up by scores. You might. I know they juice the hell out of those live bets, but I would look at maybe playing this game late live, maybe in the fourth quarter, and see where it's at, and then maybe you can get within. I would say if they're up by 2 scores, let's say 14, 17 points, I think the game falls into single digits. Utah gets Washington State gets a backdoor cover late.
I'm going to move on Washington State. I think this Max Borghi coming in is a huge addition to Washington State, and that doesn't necessarily push me to think that the over is going to hit, because Washington State will be moving the ball on the ground. Right. Even though their offense should be much stronger, the clock will be running.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to move the ball on the ground here.
Yeah, absolutely. I found Bentley very underwhelming coming in for Utah. Now, I should also state that I feel that way because I lost that Oregon State game. I was on Utah, and they were up 30-10, and they let Oregon State back in it. And okay, so I'm going to be moving on Washington State. That would be my first edition on today's card at this point. All right, let's roll. We move on to Air Force, Army, and I always love hearing Big Ragu's takes on Air Force, Army, Navy games. So we'll start with our Big Ragu here. We're at West Point, New York, 31 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 3 miles per hour is the wind. Air Force opening up as 1-point favorites. This moves to 2.5. There are a couple 2s on the board. Total very low at 38. The total went down to 36.5 in Army Navy, and there was 15 points scored in that. That was a gift that I didn't accept for some reason. Air Force has only played twice since Halloween. They're coming off a couple of easy wins over weak opponents. They defeated New Mexico at home 28-0 on November 20th. They won at Utah State 35-7 on December 30th. They averaged 27.8 points per game. They allowed just 16. Of the 415 yards they pick up a game, only 79 of that comes through the air. Army bounced back from their 38-12 loss at Tulane by beating Georgia State at home 28-27 and then defeating Navy at home 15-0. They scored 29 points while allowing just 14.7. And of their 328.4 yards of offense, only 48 comes through the air. Now, that Army-Navy game, there was a heavy fog, and there was other factors as to why it was so low. But is this another gift, Ragu? Air Force, Army, how are you playing it?
You know what? Naturally, you want to look at the under right away. So I'm not even going to talk about that, but we'll touch on it a little bit. Well, let's talk about Army at home. 6-0 at home. Army 6-0 at home, and you have the other academy. And where else are you going to see back-to-back academy games like we seen last week? Usually the season's over, but Army gets another trip at home. So are they still running high off of that win against Navy last week? Probably so, but their Army, they're going to refocus and regroup, and I think they're going to handle business at home. I think we're going to see a similar game, but with a little more offense generated here. So I was thinking there might have been a little value in the over, and I hate going against the overs or against the unders in these academy games, but I think I would definitely lean towards the over here. I think we're going to see a little more offense, maybe a couple more, I wouldn't call them trick plays, but more scoring opportunities here. I know Army was really pushing hard for that 0 last week, and they got it. So I think I would say they were more focused on controlling the game from the defensive side of the ball. Well, I think this game is going to be more offense related. I think you'll see both teams try to take some shots more often than not here when they get the opportunities to do it. But I think Army sitting at home, it's an Army money line play for me. 6-0 at home. They want to avenge the loss from last year, and they're riding high off of that win over Navy. And I would take Army money line at home. It's not worth it to take the 1.5, 2, whatever you're going to get. Just take them on the money line at the plus 120, whatever it is, and then maybe a lean towards the over. So I'm on Army plus money line at the house.
This makes sense to me, especially Air Force playing 2 games since Halloween. And look who they played, just no competition here, while Army's played some tough opponents. And it's a nice bounce back after their loss at Tulane. Let's go to DJ Big Boss, Air Force, Army. What do you think of Ragu backing Army? Is there a move for you to make?
I'm not gonna let this one pass me by with the military unders right here. I'm definitely jumping in on this one. Not only am I gonna take that under by itself, but I'm also gonna tease it up a little bit and throw it in a teaser as well, get a little extra value on it. But definitely not letting that train go by, man. I think John Ryan has the record. I know he has the record, but I think it was like 28-9 last to the under, and maybe it's like 29-9 now. But it's up there, man. It's where all the cappers should be.
Well, let's hear if John Ryan will also be on that under that DJ Big Boss is on. John, take it away.
Well, I'm not on the under, but I like Army quite a bit here, and I'm really not making this up, taking all these dogs today. But when we get further along in the schedule, I assure you there'll be some favorites that will crop up on my radar. But Army is in a situation coming off a game where they allowed 0 points, and in so doing, these teams that allowed 0 and now are installed as a dog since 2016 are 37-25 for 60% winning bets. So that's pretty good in and of itself. And then you come to this statistic here where Army allowed and scored fewer than 17 points in their previous game. And in that situation, the following game, they're 17-5-1 for a pretty darn good, nice return in ROI. So I like Army here to win the game.
It's very compelling. You guys are on Army. Ragu, can we close up this game with a question from Nutflush? He says, sure. What do you think of that team total over 17.5 for Army?
All right, so I kind of lean over a little bit here. So I think Army will probably get 20 points today. 20, 21, 24 points. So, yeah, I like that. I would lean that way. Not 100% on it totally, but, that would be a look for me, possibly. What's the total for what's the other total for the other team?
I'll pull that up right now and see if we can grab that quickly. So we have
21. Be my guess.
Let's just see if I can just grab it very quickly here. So we have that 17.5 hanging, and I'm not sure if my book also has that 17.5, but here it is right now. We will find out. It is wow, I've got 18.5 for Army. So those of you at 17.5, it's probably a nice spot. And I've got 19.5 for Air Force.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds cheap.
And the total is 38?
38, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty close, yeah. Go for it, Nutflush.
All righty. That's the 3 p.m. Eastern spot. We move over to 3:30 p.m. Ole Miss Rebels 4-4 in the SEC at LSU 4-5 in the SEC. Tiger Stadium, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 65 Fahrenheit. Showers, 11 miles per hour. So there's a couple games here where we've got some rain and some wind. So this is 11 miles per hour, some wind. So there's a couple moving parts here in this one. First moving part is Ole Miss will be without two key players. Wide receiver Elijah Moore and tight end Kenny Yeboah announced their intentions to opt out the remainder of the 2020 season and focus on the NFL draft. So Ole Miss is going to have to deal with that. They had last week's game against LSU canceled due to positive COVID cases in their own program, and I did try to get as much information that I could for that. LSU opens up as 2-point favorites. That flips. So we now have Ole Miss as the favorite. A lot of these books have Ole Miss as 1-point favorites, but the leading indicator books are bullish on Ole Miss. They've moved it to 2.5 at plus money. Ole Miss officially put its program on pause starting on December 2nd. Kiffin said the team's first day without any additional staff and player positives came on December 9th. He said that he expects all of the players who are still in isolation to be back before Saturday's game. Ole Miss is on a 3-game winning streak with wins at Vanderbilt, at home over South Carolina and Mississippi State. They've yet to play a game in December. Sophomore quarterback Matt Corral has thrown 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He's thrown for 412 yards, 513 yards, and 385 yards over his last 3 games. Ole Miss's offense very strong, putting up 39.8 points per game, 563 yards a game. It's their defense that continually lets them down, allowing 38.8 points and 528.5 yards. LSU coming in off the shocking 37-34 win at Florida as 23.5-point underdogs. They'd lost their previous 2 games to Alabama and Texas A&M by a combined score of 75-24. Their search for a quarterback looks to be over. 6'5" freshman Max Johnson looked very good against Florida. 21-36 for 239 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also rushed 18 times for 52 yards. We had a incredible money line call on LSU last week by John Ryan. So why don't we start with him here? Ole Miss now favorites and taking money quickly. Do you agree with the market move towards Ole Miss, John, and how are you handling this game?
I don't have anything on the game, unfortunately, but the line implies that both teams are going to easily score more than 28 points. And some interesting numbers here crop up. Mississippi is 95-45 against the number of the last 10 years when they scored 28 or more points. However, in games where they and the opponent score 28 or more points, the record is only 30-27 the last 10 years. And then we scroll down to LSU here, and when they score 28 or more points the last 10 years, they're 125-61. They're also 18-7 the last 3 years. And when both teams in an LSU game score 28 or more points, and to me this is shocking, they are a losing 16-21 against the number. I think the play here, my lean, and I think the look is the over. And when both teams score 28 or more points in LSU games, they're a perfect 38-0 the last 10 years. So I think my look is would be on the over.
The over, which opened at Bet365 at 73.5, now sitting at 74.5 there are 75s on the board. A Big Ragoo, what do you think of this spot, SEC action?
Ton of offense both ways. I think John's I'm not a crazy about the 70. What is it? 74, 73.5.
Yeah, up to 74.5 and 75.
Yeah, that's a big number, uphill climb. But I mean, they could get to the 80s easily. I mean, they got the worst defense in the country. Ole Miss. They're giving up like 600 yards, well over 600 yards a game. So and they're winning games too. So that means they're going to score in LSU coming off that big game against Florida. You know, they carry a little momentum coming home possibly. But man, that's a big ass to climb, and I think you're going to see a ton of points here. I'm not getting involved either way. I can't pick a side. Or when you're giving up 600 yards of defense both ways, you know, it's just like you're going to see 1,200 yards of offense in this game. This is going to be an explosion of offense either way. So it's got to be either over or pass. I'm not going to pick a side. So I'm not laying no wood. I'm not taking no wood. I'm not taking it over. And I'm going to sit back and watch this one.
Let's see what Big Boss has to say about this spot. Ole Miss, LSU.
I'm going to break this game down to coaching in this one right here. Despite all the COVID, the players, all that, I'm just going to go straight coaching. You got Orgeron on the seat, maybe on his way out at some point, and you got Kiffin, got his feet wet in the SEC right here, and he's been trying to make a statement all year, trying to run the scoreboard up. So if we're going to run it up this year, I'm going to go with Mississippi all day and run it up. So I'm on that one. I'm getting to the window with Mississippi at the 1 point spread. I think I got it at 1.5 though.
Yeah.
What's the ticket count on that, Jimmy? Which way is it sharper money coming on Ole Miss? Because what I seen was a bunch of tickets on LSU and the money moving the other way. So is this a reverse line movement?
Let me pull it up right now.
I think it is.
Here we go. No, huge cash bets have been placed on Ole Miss in the last little bit. So huge cash bets. So the tickets are even, but 76% of the cash right now on Ole Miss. And that's just of late because that wasn't the case earlier.
Right.
Very interesting. Here we go. Ole Miss being backed by DJ Big Boss. Then we have John Ryan on the over. And we move on. We move on to Missouri, Mississippi State. That's next up. Rotation number 249, 250. This total opens up at 48.5. It's now at 49. Missouri opened up as favorites, 2-point favorites, and that has moved to Mississippi State. Missouri 5-4 in the SEC. Mississippi State 2-7 in the SEC. Davis Wade Stadium, Starkville, Mississippi. 50 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 5 miles per hour. Missouri comes in off an ugly 49-14 loss at home to number 9 Georgia. Freshman quarterback Connor Bazelak did not look good against Georgia. 17-28, 139 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. If you take out that 4-touchdown performance against LSU, he's had a bad year. 1 touchdown in 8 games, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in 8 games. He's a freshman. He'll improve, but Mississippi State has lost 3 straight to tough competition. They lost 31-24 Georgia, 31-24 Ole Miss, and 24-10 at home to Auburn. They scored just 17.3 points per game, but their defense has gotten stronger as the season's gone on. They do allow 27.9 points, but that's on 384.6 yards per game, and they are improving quickly. Little SEC action. John Ryan, Missouri, Mississippi State, anything for you?
I would lean on this game on the over. These two teams rank in the top 10 in the toughest schedules faced this year, and even tougher than some of the teams that are playing for that Final Four, to be honest with you. And it's hard to tell with these teams that you don't know the motivation factor. There's an SEC championship game going on. They're not part of it. At the same time, there's players that are underclassmen that are trying to impress the coaching staff so they can become starters next year. So this is a matchup I think I want to stay away from. I would recommend that. But if you forced me, I think the over's the play.
The over here, and it's not very high. Let's go over to the big Ragu, Missouri, Mississippi State.
Yeah, it's kind of a low total. It almost has like an old SEC feel if you look at the number, but both of these teams are horrible at scoring. They're horrible on defense. So it's a real shit show, this game here, either way you look at it. I figured that Mississippi State would probably perform a little better offensively with in its first year with Leach coming down. And Missouri, they've been quietly pretty decent against the pass, but then all of a sudden, defensively, overall, it kind of fell somewhere like in the top, the lower 2/3 tier. So it's not a look I really want to get involved with. It's kind of like a going away game. I think, you might see the coaches do some things they might not normally do in this spot. So maybe look towards the over possibly. Maybe you get like a 27-20, a 30-27 finish or a 27-24, maybe squeaks over. But I don't see any value in this game either way on either side of the ball, either side of the teams, or even maybe lean towards the over because they're so bad defensively and they're not setting the world on fire offensively either. So I can't figure this is a look I don't have. I'm not going to help anybody out with on this game.
DJ Big Boss, anything for you here?
I'm off on this one all the way. I mean, it doesn't even all the way qualify for a bum fight, so I'm off.
Not even a bum fight. I can understand the move towards Mississippi State. They've played some stiff competition. This should be a much easier spot for them. Okay, we'll move on to 4 p.m. action. Big rivalry spot, Minnesota at Wisconsin. Big Ten action. Let's see what is going on here. Wisconsin opening up as 13.5-point favorites. Now there's 12s across the board. There isn't 11 even. This total opens up at 48.5. It drops to 47, then 46.5. We're at Camp Randall, Madison, Wisconsin, 34 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 5 miles per hour. Minnesota comes in off back-to-back wins at home over Purdue and at Nebraska. Sorry, back-to-back wins at home over Purdue and at Nebraska. Minnesota is trying to avoid finishing below 500 after going 11-2 last year and winning the Outback Bowl. Mohamed Ibrahim rushed for 925 yards, third among all football bowl subdivision players with 154.17 yards per game, 15 touchdowns, tied for 5th nationally. Wisconsin was ranked top 10 earlier this year. They've lost 3 straight. At Northwestern, at home to Indiana, and at Iowa. Now they're trying to avoid their first losing season since 2001. They've scored 7 points or fewer in each of their last 3 games. That's the first time since 1990. Badgers have scored in single digits in 3 straight games. Wisconsin has a chance to end that slump Saturday against Minnesota defense. It's poorest. They allowed 31.8 points per game. Leading rusher Jalen Berger didn't play in a 28-7 loss at Iowa. He is not going to play. He's not on the depth chart. So as far as I know, Jalen Berger is not going to play. Wisconsin also missing 2 of its top receivers, and Danny Davis. He's missed 3 straight games, and Kendrick Pryor has had the last 2 of the last 3. Wisconsin allows the 3rd fewest yards rushing per game, 83.2 of any FBS team. Badgers have given up the fewest total yards per game, 251 of anyone. I can understand why this is moved to the under, and I can understand why it's moved to Minnesota, but I am hesitant to jump on Minnesota, even with Wisconsin missing all these players. Why don't we start with the big ragu here, Big Ten action, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Yeah, we know Wisconsin's been struggling greatly on the offensive side. A lot of it seems like the offensive production with Mertz, they were kind of relying on his arm more or less, not to score points, but kind of move the ball down the field a little bit because they struggled. They had their struggles. Usually, offensive line is pretty stout for Wisconsin, but we're not seeing the ground game that we normally get with these guys. And I think the ground game is a little bit better on the other side with Ibrahim. Whether they have success moving the ball against that tough Wisconsin D, that's another thing. But a lot of lack of offensive production for Wisconsin here. And I think Minnesota plays this one a little bit close. I don't think there's no way in the world that I would ever lay double digits with Wisconsin. So it has to be Minnesota or pass. But if they can get the running game going with Ibrahim, that's a whole different team. You notice if you watch that game last week, and we were on Minnesota, we had that money line and plus the points. But if you notice when he was not in the game, they struggled badly. So he's the whole key. That whole team runs through Ibrahim, and they're going to have success with him on the ground to kind of have any type of chance of even competing in this game. Otherwise, I'm not going to say Wisconsin's going to have their will with them, but the Minnesota defense is not really going to set the world on fire. A lot of that game last week had to do with they were going with their 3rd string quarterback with Maryland last week. But if Mertz takes care of the football, and that's the 2 key components in this game. It's going to be Mertz, his ability to take care of the football, and will they have success running the ball, or will Ibrahim run the ball and control tempo for Minnesota and not give up the points. So I think this game is built for Minnesota to possibly yield some points to Wisconsin, but I don't think they're going to score that many more points to cover the number. So it's a Minnesota. I would lean Minnesota here in this spot.
I lean to Minnesota. I'm the same way, and I still don't feel confident enough to pull the trigger on the go for squad.
I'm not going to get to the window with it, but I would lean Minnesota.
DJ Big Boss, take it away.
27-14 Wisconsin. I think in this one right here, Wisconsin gets to play a kind of lower talented opponent in this chance, kind of go out with a bang right here. They're the home team in this one. The offense has got loose in a few games this year and their running game has the potential to explode. And I see the defense, the run defense for Wisconsin is going to be a tough one for Minnesota. So the ball's going to have to go in the air a little bit over there. Wisconsin's been a slow-paced team all year, so I lean heavy with the under right here. And I also like Wisconsin. But instead of laying those points right there with Wisconsin, I'm going to go ahead and stand and get to the window with the under on the other hand. 27-14. That's what I got it at.
And that would clear the total by 5 or 6 points. Okay, let's go over to John Ryan, put a bow on this Big Ten game with Minnesota-Wisconsin.
Well, as you mentioned, Wisconsin has lost 3 in a row, and they also lost all 3 to the spread. Head coach Chris, though, is a perfect 8-0 after 3 or more consecutive losses against the spread in all games that he's coached. More shocking in the Iowa loss last week was the fact that Wisconsin, a team that is an icon for big offensive linemen and strong running and, just smash mouth football, gained 56 rushing yards on 33 attempts. Well, in this situation, there's a bounce back too with Wisconsin, and it's 17-4 against the number in games since 1990, where Wisconsin gained 75 or fewer rushing yards. But I'm here to tell you something. Finally, after an hour of talking, here's something meaningful. Teams that have scored fewer than 10 points in 3 consecutive games and are playing a home conference game are 15-50 straight up, 22-42 against the number. That puts everything on Minnesota. And I think, honestly, in a COVID year like this, again, the Big Ten championship game is going to be being played while these guys are playing. And how can you not feel a little bummed out about that in the first place? So I strike lines through all those ones I first mentioned, as those are regular years where they're still playing for something. And I agree with these guys that, Minnesota's the bet if you're going to make it. So I think it's a good look to take Minnesota against a team that hasn't scored more than 10 points in 3 games. I mean, not even 20%. They scored 49 in the fourth to last game. 49. And then all of a sudden they score 20 in 3 games. I mean, there's something wrong.
Interesting spot here. Under and mini possible, but boss likes whiskey to cover. Very tough spot there. Okay, let's move on to the ACC Championship game. This will be fun. Number 3, Clemson Tigers, 9-1, 8-1 in the ACC versus number 2, Notre Dame fighting Irish, 10-0, 9-0 in the ACC. Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina, 47 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 3 miles per hour is the wind. Clemson sitting at 10 or 10.5 point favorites. Big Boss moved on the Notre Dame money line plus 300 and the under 61. The market for the total has gone in his favor. That's now down to 59.5 at the indicated book. Still 60 at some. CMAC was on the other side. He's on the over. Noli and John Ryan both moved on Clemson at minus 10. Tigers have won 5 straight ACC titles under Dabo. After losing at Notre Dame 47-40 on November 7th without star Trevor Lawrence, who was out with COVID, Clemson gets their rematch. Lawrence back under center. They destroyed Pittsburgh 52-17 and Virginia Tech 45-10. They outscored their opponents on average by 27.7 points per game, out-yarded them by 202.3. Wow. Since defeating Clemson, Notre Dame beat Boston College, North Carolina, and Syracuse each by double digits. Book has thrown for 2,382 yards, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the season. He lit up Clemson for 310 yards. Sophomore Kyron Williams ran for 140 yards and 3 TDs. They overwhelmed the defense on that day. Notre Dame's defense, on the other hand, held Etienne and the Tigers to 1 yard per carry. Very impressive. While Notre Dame averaged 5.1 yards per rush on offense. Clemson was just 4-15 on third down conversions in that first meeting against Notre Dame. I'm sure Trevor Lawrence will change that. We are talking the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, so we talk first with DJ Big Boss. Big Boss, how you feeling now about your money line spot and your under 61?
Oh, man, I'm comfortable right there. Basically, the money line, I'm not going to let the game go by without me laying something on my team. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it big, and I'm going to drop it on the money line. It's 2 games that can be played here, right here. We could come out in this game, and we could say, hey, We here to, mark our line in the sand. We want to walk away with this, beating Clemson twice. Don't ever ask us to come back to another conference forever. There's a lot of stumped down stuff a lot of Notre Dame backers are going to say about this game. But, in the real reality, who really needs this game right here? Clemson. This game kind of means everything to Dabo right here, So I can't really look past that fact. I don't care what the line is, the number is between it. I just, can't go on the other side like that. But so that's why that's there. Now, as far as the type of game I'd like to see played, I like to see another chess match, a more low-scoring game. I don't think these two coaches are looking at each other like, hey, first down, I'm gonna come out and just go to the sky. Kelly's got to protect Book as long as he can because he know that he can make mistakes. So he has to try to keep the ball out of his hand the best he can. Hopefully the running game comes right back. That last game was a fight in the trenches. And one thing I could tell you about a fight in the trench and as a lineman, it's not like any other sport or any other thing where it changed. If I'm the dominant one this game, I'm going to be a dominant one next game. It's all about strength, conditioning, and all that kind of stuff, and that doesn't change from game to game. So I think the trenches are going to stay the same right there. Could be some trickery. The fact that Lawrence is coming in the game, that could play a major factor as far as Clemson capitalizing on some scores that they didn't capitalize on the last game. But don't look too far past Notre Dame because Notre Dame should have won that game by more than what they won it by. We got to remember, Book fumbled the ball on the goal line, and we still came back and won that game. So if you look at it from that perspective, we've been tested. We went down to one knee and stood up plenty of times. But, Kelly's not for embarrassment either. He's not that type of guy at all. He's not going to just come out here and play a piss poor game just because we know we're going to be going to the playoffs kind of regardless, because John Ryman tried to salted this up a little earlier. But even though we know we're going to the playoffs regardless, that's not something Kelly's going to look at as a comfort zone. He's going to try to use that to make these guys fight a little more. And one of the big other advantages for Notre Dame coming through in this game is that, the biggest thing I've seen in the last game against Clemson is that we bridged the gap a little bit in the class of players that we got. It's kind of hard with the academic requirements to get the athletes that we need to match up with Alabama and Clemson. And from the last showing, especially in the trenches, you can see that we cranked it up just a small notch right there. So we definitely class the same. We're not scared of Clemson. None of that's in the play. So it should be a nice grudge match. And I find, even though John Ryan doesn't like this word, but I find a lot of value on the under in this one.
The under is a very, very interesting look here. CMAC was on the other side of it, but I can understand why you were backing it. Let's get fresh take off from Big Ragu. He was not on the Monday show. Ragu, Clemson, Notre Dame.
All right, we're not making excuses for Clemson in the last one because of the missing pieces and whatnot. But it's going to be a tough spot for Notre Dame as far as what's going to happen after this game. Okay, so that's the thing they should be concerned about. So it's not a matter of fact that they're going to lay down or not try to put forth the effort to win this game, because this game means everything to Notre Dame, and I'll tell you why. Because if they lose this game, more than likely you're going to see Clemson and Ohio State, that matchup that we seen last year. And that means they're going to play Alabama in the college playoff, and they don't want to play Alabama first. So I think to DJ's point, I think Notre Dame's going to come out with effort and try to compete here. But what does Clemson do well when they get in ACC championships? They beat the shit out of their opponents when they get in these games. So this is a game where Clemson they got revenge on their mind, and they want to prove that they belong, because there's no 7-2 team going to an NCAA playoff. It never happened before. So you're going to get a better effort out of Clemson here. This is going to be a death sentence for Notre Dame. They're going to get beat by margin. They're going to get beat bad, and they'll see Alabama, and they're going to go home early. So it's Clemson -10 for me. I already got the action down.
Clemson locked in at -10. John Ryan, put a bow on the ACC championship for us.
I will, and I have a question for DJ. And he's probably saying, "Well, why doesn't John Ryan just shut up for once?" Seriously,
No. Go for it.
I want to know the over/under for the number of beers and shots you would consume if Notre Dame won. I'm not done yet. Notre Dame wins and Florida upsets Alabama.
I wouldn't have any
30?
extra. I wouldn't. Now I'm gonna reply to you and Big Ragu at the same time because I wouldn't have any extra beers or shot for what goes on in the SEC with Florida and Alabama. Notre Dame has pledged to try to play the best teams that we could possibly play each year for forever. That's what our independent schedule is about, is having the freedom to play the best. Bring Alabama on first. If we coming right off of Clemson, like we already in the top 5 struggle. If we lose, win, it doesn't matter. We're not running from nobody's competition. We're not the type of team that's sitting there trying to say what's our best position to sneak our way to the championship. That's usually why we lose too, because we want to play the best. We want to compete at the high rate. That's what we do. That's what we put the Bucks out there for. So I don't think that has nothing to do with it as Alabama, Florida. I could care less about that game.
You'd be ranked number 1.
Yeah.
You'd be ranked number 1 for the first time in a while, right?
Hey, we done had undefeated seasons, all that. We've been ranked number 1 before. It's not a big deal for us, man. This is what we do. We play each year to end up in these positions right here. Win, lose, or draw.
Hey, I got a feeling we're going to get a 33% loss that's going to make money for John Ryan in the Florida-Alabama game. I hear that coming.
Oh, yeah, that train whistle blew, didn't it?
Yeah, man.
Anyway, I'm just going to mention this real quick. On a neutral field, which is usually games that have tremendous importance, Dabo is 17-6 against the number. And in December, much like that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady combination, I only mention that because both coaches are very polarizing. You either love them or you hate them. Swinney is 13-3 against the number in December. So I got a 6-pack for you, DJ. I'll wager it with you. I would love it. I'll even give you 10.5.
No, I don't want no action on the side unless it's money line.
I don't have that kind of balls.
Give me $20 to a donut. I'll send it to you. Priority Express.
He's a good man.
It would take too long at this time of the year.
There is the ACC Championship breakdown. What a fun game it's going to be, man. What a fun game. And I still have no action on it at this point, but I am interested in that under. Ragu, very quickly, we got to move on, but if you had a free $500 bet on the total at 60, let's put it at 60 here, would you go over or under?
Over.
Okay, we'll move on to the Mountain West Championship here. Boise State Broncos 5-1, 5-0 in the Mountain West versus number 24 ranked San Jose State Spartans 6-0, 6-0 in the Mountain West. Sam Boyd Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada, 56 Fahrenheit, sunny, 4 miles per hour is the wind. Boise State opening up at 8. It went down to 6.5. It's now back at 7. DJ Big Boss and I both jumped on San Jose State plus 6.5. It sucks that we could have got the 7 had we waited. That was contest picks, but I didn't bet it, so I'm upset that I didn't wait. A nice day in Vegas, 56 Fahrenheit, 74 miles per hour. After a season dealing with COVID issues, Boise State ends up back in the Mountain West Championship. They're riding a 14-game conference winning streak, coming off back-to-back road victories over Hawaii and Wyoming. Their only loss of the season came to BYU when they played without their top 2 quarterbacks due to COVID. They outscored their opposition by an average of 10.2 points per game, scored 36.2 points per game. But, and we talked about this on Monday, only managed 368.3 yards per game. Hank Bachmeier threw for 929 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in 4 games, missed 2 with COVID. San Jose completed the surprising undefeated season with a big 30-20 victory at a neutral site in Vegas over Nevada. That was here at Sam Boyd. So back-to-back games for them at Sam Boyd. San Jose State had its first 6-0 start since 1939 on a 7-game winning streak, ranked for the first time since 2012. They were down 27 at the half, shutting Nevada out in the second half, and Nick Starkel's been a big difference. Didn't get to San Jose until January after spending his first 3 years of college at Texas A&M and Arkansas. 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Favorite target, senior Bailey Gaither, who caught for 627 yards, including 156 versus Nevada. But it's their running back, Tyler Nevins. That's the difference maker. 8.9 yards per carry. Over his past 2 games, he has 336 yards on just 28 carries. Man is a monster. Special teams impressive too. Are you at all uncomfortable, Big Boss, with our spot on San Jose?
No, not at all. Not one bit. Like I made enough money with San Jose State this year that even at a loss at this one, I'm still above 60%. So I'm not even tripping on a loss right here. I'm kind of banking on Brenner right here, man. If you think about it, if Brenner knocks Boise State off their feet and wins this one, his coaching stock goes way up in this one, and he's going to be looking at a big job somewhere. So this could mean a lot for him right here. I mean, he's went through all the phases of coaching and bringing this team from A to B to C, and he's in the dance right now. It is a short year. I don't know if in a long year if he would have made it, this far undefeated, all these accolades that they made, but this team just might be the shit. Bottom line is this team might be the shit. Now, as Boise State, on the other hand, I've seen them struggle quite a few times, not just with BYU, even in the last game against Wyoming. It was almost a blizzard going on, but all they have is Shakir this year, and the running back is okay, and Brockmeyer he's in his little second year right here, so he's at a little in between stage. Maybe you want to check back with him next year. But the bad part about it is Boise State, real dominant in the Mountain West, and they're hungry. They already had the rug swept from underneath their feet before, so if they could fire their troops up to come after the San Jose State game, we're gonna get a really good game out of this one. But I'm gonna stay on San Jose side. I'm leaning Brenner might be the next he might be on his way to USC job or something. We never know. But if this guy walks away with the Mountain West crown, a lot of talk's going to go on about this coach right here.
This total opened up at 54.5, all the way up to 57 at some of these books. Let's try to. We got the SEC Championship still to go, and the AAC Championship. So let's see if we can get through this. Pretty quick here. John Ryan, anything to add here on the Mountain West Championship?
Not really. One sentence that I don't think the marketplace is caught up with San Jose State just yet. Power ratings have this says that Boise favored by 1. So I definitely have a lean on San Jose State to complete the gig.
Wow. Big Ragoo, anything to add?
No, DJ did a great job breaking it down, and like you said, Starkel, he's been money since he came over from the SEC for this team, and this team's been winning by double digits almost every game. So I went against them. I was on that Nevada play a little while back, and that comeback was amazing what they did there. And Boise, it's not the same Boise team we're used to seeing, on the defense and the offensive side here. So I think the points are going to be, even though I made a small bet, I did bet Boise early in the week at 6.5. That was just because I was pissed off at them for not cashing for me for the last game, I guess. But a small play on Boise, but I think San Jose, could be the play here. So I might buy back on that one and take the +7.
All righty, let's move on here. Let's try to get through this game as quick as possible here. Illinois at Penn State, Beaver Stadium, University Park, Pennsylvania, 30 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 3 miles per hour. Illinois 2-5 in the Big Ten. Penn State 3-5 in the Big 10. Let's get this up here. Penn State opening up as 15-point favorites. They're now 15.5. This total moved from 52 to 53. Illinois will be led by defensive coordinator Rod Smith. Illinois fired Lovie Smith on Sunday following 4 losing seasons. Illinois has lost 2 games in a row. Its offense being inconsistent. Defense has allowed more than 424 total yards each of the last 2 weeks. And they're going to be without leading wide receiver Josh Imitor-Beebe, who declared for the NFL draft on Thursday. After losing 5 straight to start the season, Penn State has won 3 straight. Michigan, Rutgers, and won 39-24 last week at home to Michigan State, which was great because we had the -14.5, cleared that by half point. Nittany Lions held Rutgers to just 83 rushing yards. They surrendered just 69 to Michigan State last week. Their defense is strong right now. John Ryan, Big Ten action, Illinois, Penn State, take it away.
Well, really quick, I do like and have played Penn State in this game. It seems like this year I'm in love with Penn State, and as long as they win, I am. But from the machine learning tools, Penn State's expected to score at least 28 points. I think they have a lot more motivation in this game than Illinois does. And when Penn State scores 28 or more, they're 33-11 under James Franklin when scoring 28 or more points. Illinois says 15-53 when allowing 28 or more points. Penn State's projected to gain over 500 total offensive yards, and when they do, they're 16-3 under James Franklin for 84% winning bets. There you go.
Penn State for John Ryan. Big Roo, anything to add?
It's Penn State or pass here. Maybe they could put a bow on the season. Maybe a possible bowl bid with a 4-5 season, going for the 4th win in a row. Illinois, they're probably just wanting to go home for Christmas. So I would say maybe more of a motivational play for Penn State here in this spot. Whether they want to participate in bowl games, who the hell knows? But
do you think 15.5 is too much?
Illinois don't have a whole lot going, and I think Penn State's got stuff going in their direction. So I wouldn't be afraid to lay it, but it'd be more of a lean versus a play. I probably won't get to the window with it, but I know John loves it, so I might tell my buddy John on this one.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Big Magoo.
Big Boss, anything to add?
Finally, I get to say it, Jimmy. Bum fight! Believe it or not, who would ever thought we would say bum fight with Penn State? So follow the rules accordingly. Take the home team, and hey, we get a quality bum with nice, decent clothes. Doesn't smell too bad, and he used to be a fighter back in the day. So if you got to lay it, John says lay it. If you want any action on this game, the only way to go is Penn State minus the points.
Let's keep rolling here. Next up, 7 p.m. Eastern, Stanford at UCLA. Stanford 3-2 in the Pac-12. UCLA 3-3 in the Pac-12. Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. 65 Fahrenheit clear, 2 miles per hour. UCLA opening up a 6-point favorite. That's moved to 6.5. This total's gone from 58.5 to 59.5. Cardinal relocated their entire team because of coronavirus restrictions in their home county. They moved from the Bay Area to Seattle to Corvallis, now to Santa Barbara. That's rough. And you can hear it when they talk. They're exhausted. Stanford's game at the Rose Bowl will be the final game of the year. They declined participating in the bowl. UCLA is going to be doing the same. So this is the last game for both teams. Stanford has won 3 straight all on the road. Cal, Washington, Oregon State. Can they make it 4? That is a lot to ask. UCLA had its 2-game winning streak snapped in a wild 43-38 loss at home versus number 15th ranked USC. Junior quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson threw for 364 yards, 4 touchdowns against the Trojans. DJ Big Boss action here in the Pac-12. Stanford, UCLA, take it away.
Okay, believe it or not, with Kelly has brought to the game with this UCLA team is some new elements in his running game, not necessarily his passing game. A lot of those games they win behind the pass from coming from behind and different stuff like that. But going into this Stanford game, I expect a lot of running out of both teams in this one. And I also like UCLA a lot going into this one. But where I find the most, I'm going to say it again, hold your ears, John Ryan, where I find the most value in this one is on the under, because there's going to be a lot of running. It's going to be more of a grudge match between the two. Stanford, they punted on 4th and 1, and UCLA, they do make mistakes and capitalize. They do play at a higher tempo sometimes, but for the most part, they're rooted behind their run game. So I'm going to stand on that. I'm sure there's a little bit of value in this because of recency bias with the games played between USC and UCLA where the score went pretty high. So number set a little bit higher. They go high, I go low right here. So I like the under in this one. Getting to the window at that. That's one of my best bets of the day.
Very interesting look here on the under for DJ Big Boss, and we have 70% of the tickets on the over, 59% of the cash on the over. John Ryan, what do you think of this spot in the Pac-12 here? And let's speed it up because we got some big games still.
Well, I'll make it quick. I just want DJ to know I have a dog named Manny, and we go to Pet Value to get his snacks, and that's the only place I really know where to get value. So I'm trying to learn from you about the value, but I don't see any value in this game, so I'm a pass.
Big Ragoo, anything for you here? What do you think about a Big Boss's under?
I think if you like the under, you got to like Stanford. And that's who I like, Stanford, taking the points.
You are going to be taking the points on Stanford. Interesting.
Yep. I think the game's going to play a lot closer than what the public and maybe I don't know if there's any sharp money coming up. I see a 7, 6.5. I'll look to get 7 here. If I get 7, give me the touchdown in Stanford.
All right, let's move on to – we're going to start with the AAC Championship, then move on to the big SEC Championship. And so we're going to start with 23-ranked Tulsa Golden Hurricanes, 6-1, 6-0 in the American, and number 9-ranked Cincinnati Bearcats, 8-0, 6-0 in the American. Nippert Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio, 41 Fahrenheit, showers, 7 miles per hour is the wind. Cincinnati opening up minus 12.5. That went all the way up to 14.5, and that's where Noli and I jumped on it. Noli also jumped on the under 46.5. That's moved all the way down to 45 or 44.5. So great job there. And then John Ryan took Tulsa money line at plus 510. A big balls bet here that would win him the contest if it comes through. After losing their first game of the season, 16-7 at Oklahoma State, Tulsa's reeled off 6 straight wins. Senior quarterback Zach Smith didn't improve on his junior numbers. Completed just 57.8% of his passes this year, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. It was their defense that led them here, allowing 19.9 points per game and just 329.4 yards per game. A defense only eclipsed in conference by their opponents in the Bearcats. They held opponents to 15 points a game, 308.1 yards per game. And the big difference between these two teams is that Tulsa 27.7 points and 411 yards of offense compared to Cincy's 40.9 points. 473 yards of offense. And it seems like junior quarterback Desmond Ridder has stepped up in a big way this year. He threw for 821 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The dual threat also ran for 526 yards and 11 touchdowns. Fresh take time. We didn't have Big Ragoo here on our Monday show. Big Ragoo, take it away. AAC Championship.
Defense, and more defense here, right, guys? So watch this kid, Zavin Collins, that plays for Tulsa. You'll see him in the NFL real soon. He's a beast, 6'4", 260-pounder. He gets all over the field. He's got, he's fantastic. I love watching this kid play. And Tulsa's been making money for the bettors this year in these types of spots. And, I mean, if you like the under, what's not to love about Tulsa? You know what I mean? Cincinnati, we know their defense is all about too. So this thing has got defense all over it, right? But I know my buddy DJ in the past, when you've got two defensive teams playing, he always used to like to talk about playing overs, but it's got to be Tulsa a pass for me here, just because of the fact the way the game sets up. I think we're looking at a in the trench type battle. Maybe not a ton of turnovers, but maybe whoever walks away with this, I think should be playing on a New Year's Six type game. So I think this is going to be a classic defensive battle, and it bodes well to the under. Whether we get there with the 45 or 44 or whatever it is now, I think maybe that might be a little short, but I think it's still, it's going to be close. I think you're probably going to look at about a 10-point differential, and if Cincinnati should be the winner, but I think Tulsa be a good, maybe a money line sprinkle on Tulsa too for some value.
Big Boss, what do you think? Is this a spot that you want to go contrarian here? Why don't we this
is absolutely a spot that you can go contrarian, because Cincinnati has showed points in the season where they can score 44 points on their own. So you don't know what's going. I mean, shouts out to Tulsa and everything that they do over there, but the Cincinnati team, they have the more hunger. Now, if y'all want to start relaying who's more into this Alabama and Florida game, Cincinnati's sitting on the edge of their feet for a loss from one of these people, because they're going to be the first one to have a case to say that they deserve a spot in there, because they'll be 9-0, and if they do an impressive job in this game right here, it'll look even better for them. They'll actually be sitting in the hot seat for the next one to go in if somebody goes out. You know what I mean? So this game means a lot to Cincinnati, and they should know that they have to do this with style points, and they should want to put some points on.
Interesting. So you're going to go to the window now that it's down to 44.5? Boss?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, but this is not this conference is not one that I play usually. Even though I see a lot of value right here, I just don't want to reach out and grab it, because this ain't what I do. So I can't really be playing in strange territories. But it makes a lot of sense though.
John Ryan, AAC Championship, Tulsa, Cincinnati.
Well, I'll sum up Monday's analysis with this awesome betting system. 22-24 losing record. Last 10 seasons, 48% winners. Play on road underdogs using the money line after 2 or more consecutive straight-up wins against an opponent after 7 or more consecutive straight-up wins. So that I misstated that it's road and neutral field situations, so non-home. And that is done extraordinarily well. $100 better last 10 seasons doing this blindly. It's made $4,860.
Wow.
So that supports the reason why I'm on the money line. So you all don't think I'm looking for value and out of my mind.
Tulsa plus 510 for John Ryan. All right, let's move on to the SEC Championship. Number 1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide 10-0, 10-0 in the SEC versus number 7 ranked Florida Gators 8-2 in the SEC. Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta, Georgia. C-Mac and I moved on Alabama minus 16.5. That was available at DraftKings. You can get better now. 15.5s have hit the board.
Shit, I'm pissed off right now.
15.5s have hit the board. Not everywhere, but the leading indicator books and others have moved to 15.5. This total opened up at 71.5 and moved up. It's coming back down. It's down to 74 at the indicator books. Wild stuff here in this giant football game. Crimson Tide have won 6 straight over the Gators. Absolutely dominant this season. Average margin of victory, 32.7. Outscored their last 5 opponents, 253-36. Mac Jones, 27 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Najee Harris has ran for 1,084 yards, 22 touchdowns. Devonta Smith, 83 catches for 1,327 yards, 15 touchdowns. Put up 537.8 yards per game, allowed just 340.1. Florida coming off the heartbreaking loss, 37-34 to LSU. Do they bounce back? Were they looking ahead? Trask is thrown for 40 touchdowns, 5 interceptions on his way to a possible Heisman. The Gators lead the SEC in sacks and trail only Alabama in tackles for losses. Let's start with the big Ragu here. We didn't get his take on Monday. SEC Championship, Alabama, Florida.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping everybody be pounding Alabama so I can get a little more of a price with Florida here, but I guess not. So I might have to take a pause on that one. But if you like Florida, it's looking good for you, because it looks like we're seeing some 15.5s out there too. 16, it's all over the place. 16, 15.5. I see like 117, but I don't think that's Bet Online, if I'm not mistaken. No, that's Bovada. Anyways, all right. So look, here's the thing with Florida. Not so much a look ahead last week, but just maybe more of a bigger letdown. Florida's secondary is going to get torched. There's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I was kind of hoping that Florida maybe early would kind of, get back on track with their passing game, because Alabama's defense has stepped up. Alabama's offensive line is a beast. They're going to control the line of scrimmage on the offensive side without question against Florida's defense. So it's not going to be one of these games where you think, Alabama's just going to push Florida around and have their way with them in double digits early in the game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think in the first half. Second half might be a different story, but I was kind of hoping to get a look on Florida to get double digits, because the Alabama first halves have been, not overvalued, but they haven't been able to put enough points up to slow Alabama from covering these numbers. But in this spot here, I figured we'd get maybe like a 10-point double-digit spot. But Florida's is a 9-point first half number. I still might dip in, might stick my toe in the water here with Florida, but I think you're going to see a ton of points scored. Whether they get to the 74.5, I'm seeing a 72.5 online. I see a 75. So if you like the over, I would maybe look for a first half over. Maybe there's a little bit of let me see what that first half number is here. So we're looking at 38, roughly.
Yeah.
That might be doable. That might be a look that I might be on. Maybe a first half over. I look for both teams to try to get the advantage over one another with a fast start either way. I don't think you're going to see a ton of turnovers. I think you're going to see a lot of scoring. And maybe we get a backdoor with Florida late in the game. If Alabama's up big, but say 3 scores, Florida gets that extra, that gimme touchdown. Or I don't think you're going to need style points either way, but Florida's going to need some help to get in. But they got 2 losses. I doubt they get to the big game. If they beat Bama, it'd be an interesting conversation come Sunday night. So I would lean Florida, and I would lean over the first half total.
And you can get Florida first half plus 10 right now, and that'd be something you might get to the window on.
Yeah, I would. If I get double digits to Florida in the first half, I would definitely take it.
Very, very interesting. DJ Big Boss, you didn't move on Alabama at 16.5, and good thinking. Now you can get better if you want it. What do you think after Ragu is interested in Florida? What are you thinking here?
It's just not a game that I really want to play on, but I don't know. Can you point out to me anywhere where you see that Florida could stop Bama? Where on paper, on the field, or anywhere can we mark a spot where Florida is really going to stop Bama? But I like the look of the over a lot more because Alabama's defense, they play this like catch and tackle thing. Like they try to intimidate you to catch the ball. And a lot of times some of these other guys just go up there and catch it. So a lot of times they give up a lot of passing yards under that catch and tackle theory right there. And with a quarterback like Trask, he's going to be able to manipulate those spots and they're going to be able to move the ball some. So, and Alabama doesn't have a problem with playing a high scoring game. They've done that this season as well. So I would lean heavily over to the overside of this game. I don't know if first half would do it. If I'm going to jump in first half, I might as well try to jump in first quarter if your book allows you to. But even full game, the over is still live.
Overs for Big Boss. John Ryan, put a bull on the SEC Championship for us, please.
Well, we're on the words that start with V, I noticed today. So I'm going to add one called volatility. You may have heard this in the stock market. Sometimes I talk about the VIX, and when the market crashes down, the volatility and price action is severe. So take that concept and apply it to this game. Whenever you have a college football game that's total is 70 or more, it stands to reason that the price swings, the points scored, are going to swing wildly between 21-point leads and 7-point leads, and the dog coming back, and then the dog getting squashed. So if you like the over, here's what my proposal is, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 70% and take the over as soon as the show's over. Then during the game, I'm going to look to add in the 60s. So if I can get a 67 and then a 61 to complete the bet with 15% on each one, that's what I'm going to do. You got to let these swings, work to your favor.
Average out type of play, huh?
What's that?
Like an average out, like average up, average down.
Yeah, and it's harder to do than what I just said because a lot of people are just starting betting right now. If it starts out low scoring, they feel like, oh man, my 74.5 is not going to win. It has no chance. So why would I bet it again? But we see this in the NBA all the time, and these swings happen. And just thinking of it as you're buying cheap. You're buying Apple computer at less than it was yesterday.
I like it. There you have it. Big game tonight. We have two more games we want to talk about. Let's get through this next game quickly because I do want to spend a few minutes on the bowl game, the first bowl game that's up. But we're going to start with 10:30 p.m. Arizona State at Oregon State. Arizona State 1-2 on the season in the Pac-12. Oregon State 2-4 in the Pac-12. We're in Corvallis, Oregon. Arizona State 4-point favorites right now. Oh, sorry, that's at the half. Of course, that's at the half. I was like, come on. Arizona State is opening up at 8.5-point favorites, now 7-point favorites. This total has dropped 5 points from 58.5 down to 53.5. Arizona State snapped a 2-game losing streak with a 77 beatdown at Arizona. That came on the heels of a 28.7 loss at USC and a 25-18 home loss to UCLA. Oregon State coming off tight back-to-back losses, 30-24 at Utah and 27-24 home to Stanford. The starting quarterback, Tristan Gebbia, is done for the season. Sophomore backup Chance Nolan has come in and looked adequate. He's thrown for 423 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception in 2 games while running for 86 yards. Pac-12 action. So let's go to our DJ Big Boss, Arizona State, Oregon State, and let's keep this tight so we have time for the bowl game. Big Boss, take it away.
This game right here could mean a lot for Arizona State. They have a lot riding on the line. They have a wonderful coaching staff that has been making their incremental progress going along. Now, adding another win to this season will definitely help them in this spot. So I think Arizona State leaves it all out on the field today and comes in, covers that 7. The offense been getting a lot better over there. We already know they got defense. So here's a spot they could prevail. So I like Arizona State.
Arizona State. Let's move over to John Ryan. John, you had Arizona State as your best bet last week for the Saturday games, and they won by 63. Were you going to go back to the well?
No, and exactly for that reason. Historically, teams that cover the spread by 40 or more points tend to fall back a little bit towards the mean. I'm a complete pass on this game for the sake of time.
And then we go to Big Ragu. Anything for you on this late night special Arizona State, Oregon State?
Yeah, the Beavers are 9-2 ATS as a dog and 5 outright upset wins. So give me the Beavers with a sprinkle on the money line and plus the points. They squeeze it out. 30, 34, 31, 31, 30, somewhere in that range, 28, 27. Beavers plus the points and the money line.
Very, very interesting. Beavers, Oregon State for Ragu. Wow, that's a fun look. Okay, we're going to talk about this bowl game. Our first bowl game of the year is on Monday, December 21st at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, North Texas, 4-5 on the season, versus App State, 8-3 on the season. We're in Brooks Stadium, Conway, South Carolina, 53 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, just 2 mile-per-hour winds. It is a very nice night, or day, I should say, Monday in this App State, North Texas spot. We have App State coming in after a 8-point win at Georgia Southern. We cashed on Georgia Southern in that game. They beat them 34-26. That came on the heels of their loss at home versus the Ragin' Cajuns 24-21 when they were clearly the second best team on the field. That was a game where Louisiana Lafayette had serious issues with their long snapper and were put in terrible field position throughout the game and still won 24-21. App State, points per game, 31.8. Zach Thomas has not looked very good this year. 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. It's their defense that's kept them 8-3. They allow 19.3 points per game. They allow just 313.5 yards per game and only 169.8 through the air. North Texas coming off a 45-43 win at UTEP. That came on the heels of back-to-back losses at UTSA 49-17 and at home versus Louisiana Tech 42-31. They score 35.1 points per game and put up 515 yards. It's that they allow 41.3 points and they allow 509.4 yards per game. Interesting game. Can App State slow down North Texas, and can their offense step up against a weak North Texas defense? Why don't we start with the Big Ragu, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, App State, North Texas. Do you have a feel on this spot, Ragu?
I'll be honest, not 100%, not about 20%. I barely looked at this game. But I know this. I know that App State's kind of had an up-and-down season, a big disappointment because they're used to playing in the Sun Belt Championship game this year, but Coastal Carolina kind of flipped spots with them this year. And it's a shame that Coastal's not playing today either. But anyways, I would probably – my initial look with this would be like towards the over. I think this is going to be more of a shootout type of game just because of the year that App State's had. And they have some inconsistent play at quarterback, with Zach Thomas. But they're still App State, and they're playing close to home. So I would look for more of a total, more towards a total on the over. So if you're asking me what my play is going to be for the contest, I'll take the over in this game.
We're going to take the over for Big Ragu, and I will be doing some line shopping here in North Texas, App State. That is all over the map right now. I will have to look at the licensed books and see what I can get them, but there are 65.5. There are 63.5. I will find Big Ragu the best over spot. App State, 20.5 or 19.5 point favorites, and I honestly just don't think they're that good of a football team. Let's go to John Ryan. Is there any value on North Texas and their weak defense here to keep it within 20 points?
I'm actually on Appalachian State in this game. I'm probably going to go to the window late tomorrow, Jimmy, or Monday morning. Simple reason of COVID news. We just got to pay attention to that. We have 2 vaccines now approved by FDA. It doesn't mean it's gone. So App State has lost 6 of the last 7 against the number. So that's a market decline, similar to what you see in the stock market. It starts, profit taking hits, and then it gets to a point where it's trying to find a bottom. And I think the market has grossly repriced Appalachian State in this situation. And my power ratings say 27. We're backed by a system that is playing against underdogs of 10.5 to 20.5 points, with a poor first half defense allowing 16 or more points per game, and are coming off 2 consecutive games where 70 or more points were scored. That has hit 69% since 1990, and that's a big reason why I'm on Appalachian State.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just don't think they're that good of a football team. But then North Texas defense is so weak. Let's hear what DJ Big Boss has to say. First bowl game of the year, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Big Boss, North Texas, App State.
First, I'd like to say that these bowl games are a trap, and in this game, this might be a classic trap right here. I don't like this coach for App State. You know, he did take over as an interim, and he's coming here with his full season, and he's just missing pieces. He just can't rally the troops like they have there before. I see App State on a decline right here, and out of conference competition and stuff like that, App State would have the biggest advantage if they were at home. I'd be all over App State, but playing at a neutral site, bowl game atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. I don't know about laying a 19 with a team like App State that just, they temperature is hot and cold sometimes. So we don't know what App State team's going to show up. But this North Texas team, they don't have nothing to lose in this spot. They going on vacation, having a good time and hoping to win. So I'll give me the 19 points.
I can understand John's breakdown, but I do not think they're a very good football team. And I'm going to take North Texas to stay within. And, they'll keep fighting late. They have offense. And from what I've seen from App State's offense, it's just underwhelming. So I'm going to be with Big Boss on North Texas. All right, we are almost at game time here. Very quickly, we need best bets for our Saturday day of action. Let's go to John Ryan first. John Ryan, best bet Saturday.
Whew. Oh, wow. Over Alabama, Florida.
Over in Alabama, Florida. DJ Big Boss, best bet.
I'm gonna go under UCLA game, but I got a couple other bets I got that I got to the window with. I got Ole Miss. I got the under in the Army game, and I'm also going with the under in the Iowa State game.
I love it. Then we get to Big Ragu, best bets.
First half Ohio State, full game Clemson.
Ooh, first half Ohio State. First half Ohio State.
And then also Oregon State money line.
Ooh, and Oregon State money line.
Early, late, and mid action. Early, mid, and late action.
Oregon State money line's a wild best bet. I think I'm going to roll with you on Oregon State. I don't know if I have the balls to take the money line. What a great show. Thank you guys so much to our experts, Big Ragu, DJ Big Boss, John Ryan, and to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for all your insights and your humor and rolling with us. Let's have a giant day. Mark Nicholson, Noli Knows, Arjun, North Ender, Chase Dozier, Ken Peacock in the house, Dan Kelly, Quantum Bear Trap, Luis Rivera. Mark Nicholson's been such a great, most valuable chatter for the last few weeks. I love him. Thank you guys all for all your insights. K. Paul VIP, Ashley Waite, Paul Smith. Let's have a giant Saturday. Big Boss, can you give us some closing words and send us home?
Hey, y'all make sure y'all check my guy John Ryan out on his Dr. Phil page, where he gives out statistical advice on if the next woman that you approach with the same line after getting shot down 3 times by 3 beautiful women, will you be an over or under chance of you finding love? So check my guy John Ryan out over there on his Dr. Phil channel. And you can also check out Big Ragu on his GQ page, where he comes out and does TikTok videos with different outfits and stuff like that, and also make sure you go buy Jimmy's children's books. He makes children's books on the side, kind of like Dr. Seuss. but they call him Dr. Jimmy. So yeah, check us all out, not only here every Saturday, but also check out all our side interests that we have going on. And I appreciate the chat for joining us right here on odds.com. Make sure you check out the odds.com website and check out the shows, check out the articles and all the good stuff they have to offer. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday, and leche.